My name is Mia. I used to think marriage was teamwork until I realized I was the only one playing on the team. Ryan and I had been married for 3 years. He worked in sales fancy suit 9 to 5. I worked from home, designing logos and social posts for small brands. He called it coloring for adults. He said I was lucky he made real money the first time it stung, the 10th time it burned. One night, we were eating cheap takeout because his company missed bonuses again. I showed him a small project I'd finished for a local cafe. Their new sign, bright, cheerful. They loved it. He looked up from his phone and said, "That's cute, but when are you going to get a real job?" Something inside me shut off, right? Then I smiled, nodded and said, "Maybe soon." He laughed, said you'd never last a day in the real world, clients would eat you alive. I didn't argue anymore. I just cleared the table, listening to him talk about how tired he was from meetings that night while he snored beside me. I opened my laptop and stared at the blank screen of a freelancing site I'd signed up for months ago and never touched. I whispered, "Fine, I'll show you the real world the next morning." I made coffee, packed his lunch, kissed him goodbye. Same routine as always. But my mind was somewhere else the moment the door closed. I opened tutorials on marketing, branding, pricing. Everything I didn't know, I started taking notes. Like my life depended on it for weeks. I worked in secret 8 hours for clients. Nobody knew about 8 more, building my portfolio at night. He'd come home complaining about coworkers while I quietly designed in the background, pretending it was just scrolling. Sometimes he'd peek over my shoulder and say, "Still playing pretend office. Good for you." I'd smile, say, and keep typing the first client. Ghosted me. The second underpaid me. The third refused to pay at all. I almost quit until I saw a message from a local bakery asking if I could help them with social ads. I took it, finished everything in 2 days. They paid early and sent a thank you video with their staff holding cupcakes spelling my name. It wasn't about money. It was proof from that day forward. Every insult became motivation. Every sigh from Ryan became fuel. I woke up earlier than him, went to bed later. Never complained once. 3 months later, I looked at my bank app and realized I'd matched his monthly income quietly, secretly, without him ever noticing. That night at dinner, he said we might need to cut costs because my little hobby wasn't bringing in anything. I smiled and said, "Don't worry, I've got it covered." He didn't ask how, and I didn't tell him days turned into weeks. I built a rhythm. Coffee, laptop, design, sleep, repeat. I studied contracts, invoices, branding, psychology. Learned how to pitch without sounding desperate every morning when he left for work. I whispered one more day. One more client on weekends. He wanted to watch TV. I'd sit beside him with headphones pretending to scroll while editing campaigns. He'd laugh and say, "You work too hard for someone unemployed." I'd smile again the way you do when you know something they don't after 6 months. I rebranded under a company name, M. James Studio. I bought a domain, took professional photos, set up automated systems. No one knew it was just me. I started hiring freelancers across time zones. And suddenly I was managing projects, not chasing them. Ryan never noticed because he never asked. He was too busy complaining about his manager and his bonus. Sometimes I looked at him and thought, "You have no idea you're talking to someone running 3 contracts bigger than your entire department." My first big break came from a tech startup needing a rebrand. I pulled 2 all-nighters, delivered a full identity package. They went viral overnight. I got 10 new inquiries. Money started stacking faster than I could process it. I paid off our credit cards, secretly replaced the old couch he'd been whining about, and told him it was a discount deal. He bragged to friends, saying he negotiated the price himself. I let him have it. That same week, he forgot our anniversary. Again, he said he was busy with a client dinner. I spent the night at my desk creating a mood board titled Freedom. 2 months later, M. James Studio signed a partnership with a mid-sized marketing firm, the one that would later hire him. I didn't know then, but the universe was already writing the ending. Ryan's company announced layoffs. He came home angry, threw his tie on the counter, said management was full of idiots, said I'd never understand the pressure of losing a real job. I asked if he wanted dinner. He said, "Don't pretend." Stressed the next morning, he woke up to an email terminating his contract. I watched him crumble silently. He spent days on the couch blaming the economy, sending resumes, complaining about algorithms. I kept working quietly. A week later, I got invited to a Women in Business conference as a panel speaker. He smirked, said that sounds cute, bring cupcakes. I went anyway. That event changed everything. I met investors, mentors, collaborators. One of them, the operations head of his old rival company. We talked for hours about digital branding, and she said her firm needed consultants. I gave her my card. She called 2 days later. Ryan finally got a job interview. He came running, saying he might have landed something big at a tech firm. I kept quiet. 2 weeks later, he got the offer. Jumped around the kitchen, said, "See, persistence pays off." He didn't know the firm had just hired my studio as their marketing consultants. First day of onboarding, the director introduced the new consultant team. I walked in wearing a simple black suit, laptop in hand. His face drained of color. The room went silent. I said, "Good morning, everyone. Let's get started." He sat across the table, staring like he'd seen a ghost after the meeting. He pulled me aside, asked why I didn't tell him. I said, "You never asked." He said, "I didn't think you'd understand corporate life." I said, "Apparently I understand it better than you think." The next few weeks were awkward. He kept his head down. Did his work acted polite one night? He texted me saying he was sorry for everything, for laughing for the insults. I replied, "Thanks." Take care. A month later, he resigned quietly. I heard through HR. I didn't chase him instead. I grew the studio, hired 2 women who'd been mocked the same way by their partners. We called ourselves the hobbyists as a joke today. Our firm runs campaigns for brands across 3 countries. Sometimes I still remember that dinner table the night he said, "Get a real job if he ever watches this." I hope he knows I did. I got a real job, a real life and real peace, and that's worth more than his approval ever was. If this story hit you hard, tap, share it with someone chasing their own worth, and subscribe for more stories of people who turn disrespect into motivation.